In 1955, with the beginning of the active development of the Antarctic by Soviet polar explorers, the question arose of reliable transport to travel across this harsh continent. It was practically impossible to operate conventional vehicles under conditions of firn snow, high altitude, winds of 50 m/s, and extremely low temperatures. The first swallow in the series of unusual vehicles for the South Pole exploration was Kharkovchenka. Though, of course, it would be more correct to begin the story not with the Kharkovchenka, but with the Penguin. Built in 1957 in the shortest possible time on the basis of the PT-76 floating tank, it provided invaluable assistance in the exploration of the Antarctic. The vehicle was quite reliable and, what is important, had a fairly long range. However, it was not very suitable for long-distance crossings and was cramped. As a rule, many people were sent on a trans-Antarctic expedition, and a long stay in cramped conditions was problematic. Something more capacious and comfortable was required. A sort of yacht. But a yacht is something for walking, and when it is minus 76 degrees Celsius outside, walking is the least appealing. At least a cruiser was required for such conditions. Such a snow cruiser was Izdalai 404C Kharkovchenka, built in 1958 at the Kharkiv Transport Machine Building Plant. This vehicle was based on a heavy artillery tractor at T. To begin with, its base was increased by 2 rollers. The frame was hollow and sealed. The front end of the frame had a 12-cylinder diesel engine, 5-speed gearbox, controls, and oil tanks. The fuel tank is also in this area. The other 8 fuel tanks of a total capacity of 2,500 liters were placed in the middle part of the frame. A heater with a capacity of 200 cubic meters of hot air per hour and a powerful 100-meter winch were installed in the rear. Thus, the layout of the main units and assemblies under the floor allowed not only to free up more space for the living quarters, but also to significantly reduce center of gravity of the truck, the total height of which was about 4 meters. In general, if we talk about the size of the Kharkovchenka, they were quite impressive. The length of the truck was 8.5 m and width was 3.5 m. In a one-volume, almost rectangular body was able to create a room with an area of 28 square meters and a ceiling height of 210 centimeters. The latter was required for comfortable movement around the interior. Carefully isolated from the running gear and seriously insulated, this area was divided into compartments. In the forward part, above the engine, there was a control compartment, which was divided between a mechanic driver and a navigator. To the right, behind the control compartment, was the radio room, equipped with the most advanced equipment of the time. On the left side, behind the bulkhead, there was a sleeping compartment for 8 men, and behind it the wardroom. And what can a cruiser have without a galley? There was space for it too. But the size of the latter did not allow us to organize there the whole cycle of cooking, so its main purpose was to heat canned food. Behind the galley we used the compartment for the mess hall, which was heated. Taking into account the peculiarities of exploitation, the Kharkovchenka also had a vestibule, which allows not to freeze the vehicle on entering/exiting, and a small dryer for things. As it was planned to use the cross-country vehicle in the conditions of loose firn snows, when supercooled crystals are as strong as sand and float from the slightest touch to them, the caterpillars had to be seriously modified. Their width was increased to 1 meter, and each track was equipped with a snow hook. This allowed to significantly increase traction power. The all-terrain vehicle was literally digging into the snow. And the same grousers, if necessary, allowed the vehicle to force its way through water obstacles. And although the Kharkovchenka was not an amphibious vehicle, still it could overcome some part of the route on water. The main thing was to make sure that the truck did not sink below the floor. The hollow hermetic frame provided buoyancy. The power of the cruiser's engine was 520 horsepower. It was not much, but thanks to the turbochargers, it could be almost twice as much at peak times. This diesel engine provided for all-terrain vehicle an impressive speed up to 30 km per hour, and also allowed to tow a trailer with the weight up to 70 tons. As a rule, it was fuel tanks. After all, the main cargo in such expeditions was exactly fuel, and its volume of the total cargo weight was up to 70%. However, the speed of such a sledge train rarely exceeded 10 to 15 km per hour. The peculiarities of the design include the fact that all windows were equipped with desiccants and had a constant flow of hot air to avoid freezing. The windshields were equipped with electric heating, like the one that is used in modern cars nowadays. By the way, the generator Kharkovchenka was able to produce up to 13 kilowatt-hours of electricity, which was more than enough to meet all the needs of the expedition. Used Kharkovchenka for a long time, right up to 2008, there is video evidence on the internet. And this despite the fact that in 1975 they were replaced by the Kharkovchenka II, whose design feature was a separate living module mounted on the same AT. The first generation of Kharkovchenka trucks showed that it is easy to maintain the engine without going outside the vehicle, but it was not possible to get rid of exhaust gases bursting into the living space. And it did not add to the comfort. The thermal insulation of the vehicle was not too good either. For example, the living module of the Kharkovchenka II without heating was losing no more than 2 to 3 degrees during the day. The differences were also in equipment. Kharkovchenka II is equipped with an autonomous diesel power station. It is multifunctional, used for heating and powering various equipment inside the module, as well as powering external consumers. Of course, the driver's cabin could not boast of such insulation. In fact, it was an expanded cabin of ZIL-164. Windshields are double, with electric heating, the ability to raise the windshield, by the way, as on the ZIL-164 remained. As far as I know, a few two cars of the second version are still used from time to time, and one of the first Kharkovchenka is permanently parked at Progress Station. Created in record time, the Product 404 proved to be an indispensable assistant in the exploration of Antarctica. On the account of the machine is unparalleled 2,700 km long crossing from Mirny to the South Pole, which took place in 1959. Later Kharkiv trucks became irreplaceable for servicing 6 polar stations of the Soviet Union, and their active service continued till 2008. And who else would claim that nothing ingenious could be built in 3 months? If you are interested, do not be lazy, give me a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any more interesting videos on my channel. Hit bell to notify me and share this video with your friends. What else interesting things can you add to this video? Write in the comments, it will be interesting to read.